Hello children, the Yellow Chair Classroom welcomes you to introduce a new story, a classic, Alice in Wonderland. I'm happy to introduce this story, and it is a new concept of learning grammar through stories. Story grammar elements are a universal need for students with language impairments. So learn grammar with stories. Now, shall we go to the story Alice in Wonderland, and you will also find many useful vocabularies which you can use in your conversation. Now, to the video. Alice was sitting with her sister Charlotte, who was reading a book. It was a mind-numbing afternoon. When Alice felt dreary, she glanced around and saw a white rabbit with pink eyes running past her. He was wearing a vest. The rabbit took out a watch and said, oh dear, I'm late. I have to go." Alice saw the rabbit pop down a rabbit hole. She was smitten by a talking animal and decided to follow him. As the rabbit went down the hole, Alice too rushed inside and found herself going down and down. Fear gripped her, and she fell down on some sticks and dry leaves. She got up and saw the rabbit go through a long passage having many doors. Suddenly, the rabbit vanished. She went on trying all the doors but couldn't open. "Oh dear, how am I going to go out?" she shrieked and wailed. Alice spotted a glass table in the dimly lit hall. On top of it lay a tiny gold key. She tried the key on every door. Then she saw a small curtain which covered a door. The key fitted perfectly. The door was 15 inches. A small passage led to a beautiful garden. She peered and was amazed at the loveliest garden. The wonderful fountain and the beautiful flowers filled her with joy. But she was too big to go through the door. Wondering what to do, she walked along the room. She found a bottle labeled "Drink Me." She sipped the drink. It's like a cherry tart and pineapple. She licked the drink to its last drop. Suddenly, she felt odd. She felt she was shrinking. Now, she was only 10 inches. She went back to the door, but she had left the key on the table and couldn't reach it. She saw a glass box under the table. Inside it was a cake with words "Eat me" spelled out in raisins. She ate the cake. Then she suddenly began to grow taller. "How strange," Alice said as she kept growing. Her feet were almost out of sight. "Maybe I have to get you another pair of shoes and gift you on Christmas," she chuckled and told her feet. How funny to gift shoes to one's own. Then she said, "Goodbye, feet." Just then, her head hit the hall ceiling. Now she was 9 feet, but she wasn't scared. She picked up the key and opened to look at the garden. She was so big that she could see only with one eye lying on one side. It was harder than ever. She started crying and crying harder. Her tears formed a pool around her 4 inches deep and spread down the hall. She suddenly heard footsteps nearby. She quickly wiped her eyes to see the rabbit coming. He trotted through the dark hall, muttering to himself, He was wearing a jacket and carrying white gloves and a fan. The Duchess, God, she'll be angry if I've kept her waiting. Alice was desperate, but quickly got up and wiped her tears. In a timid, soft voice, she said, "Please, sir." Startled by her voice, the white rabbit dropped his gloves and fan. He ran fast into the darkness. Alice picked up the fan and began to fan herself. The hall was very hot. She wished her sister Charlotte would look down the rabbit hole and call her. She was so lonely and tired, and she cried again, but suddenly realized the rabbit's gloves fitted her. Goodness gracious, how can a rabbit's glove fit me? But she shrank again. She stopped fanning because she shrank more and couldn't get the garden door's key. She tried to climb. Ouch! And plop! She fell up to her chin in salt water. Alice started swimming in her own pool of tears, and she meets a mouse. Assuming it to be a French mouse, she tried to converse in her elementary French. "Où c'est ma chat?" which means, "Where is my cat?" However, the offended mouse helps her to reach out along with other animals in the water. A dodo decides the best thing to dry them off would be a carcass race. On reaching the bank, Alice walked for some time and saw a house and the rabbit standing there, the same rabbit. But the rabbit, mistaking her for his maidservant Mary Ann, orders Alice to go inside the house and search for his gloves and fans. Alice went inside the house. There she saw a bottle and drinks from it. She grows taller and taller, and her arms stretches out of the chimney. The rabbit was horrified and sent his gardener, Bill the lizard, to see the chimney. All the animals hurled pebbles at her, which became cakes. Alice ate it, and they reduced her again in size. Alice somehow comes back to her normal height using the mushroom. She walked along and saw a house. A duchess lived there. Alice opened the door and went in. The cook was throwing the vessels and the baby was crying. Alice took the baby in her hand, but it became a pig. Cheshire Cat told her to go and see Hatter and March Hare. But Alice was tired of their mad tea party and left the place. Alice remembered the invitation given to the Duchess by the Queen of Hearts, decided to go there and see them play the Queen's croquet. She saw a tea party going on when she reached the house. Alice felt strange to see the playing cards come alive. The King, Queen, and the White Rabbit along with soldiers. Alice played the curious game with the Queen. There was no rule and discipline in the game. They had to play with the flamingo. Alice totally disliked the Queen. She thought the angry Queen might even cut off her head. But the Queen took her to the court to watch a trial. The case was the Knave of Hearts was accused of stealing the Queen's tart. It was the first time Alice attended a court. The jury was composed of various strange animals, including Bill the lizard and the rabbit were also present in the court. They were the court's trumpeters. The judge was the king of the hearts. The judge was the king of hearts. Alice felt all looked stupid. All the playing cards came alive, and now the Queen says someone stole away her tart, and that too after reading a poem, which Alice remembered reading in her primary classes. The poem was, "The Queen of Hearts, she made some tarts all on a summer day. The knave of hearts, he stole the tarts and took them away. And when the accused was called, the knave begged to the king and said he didn't steal." The king, who was the judge, called the witness. The rabbit blew a trumpet and called the first witness Mr. Hatter. Hatter came to the witness box, shivering and stammering, and he was very nervous. He had a sandwich and a cup of tea in his hand. Thinking of the sandwich, he bit the cup so strong that it broke. The king dismissed him and said he was a poor speaker. The second witness was the cook, and the cook was called by the rabbit, who trumpeted and called the cook. The king asked her, "What are tarts made of?" The cook came sneezing loudly, "Achoo, achoo, achoo," and went on sneezing achoo until she said the word pepper. The king and other animals began to sneeze on hearing the word pepper. Alice felt curious. Yes, she was growing taller. They did not notice Alice growing. The cook had disappeared. The next witness was Alice. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. The king saw her and took out his rules book and said, "All those who are taller than a mile must leave the court." But Alice refused to. Then the king asked her, "What do you know about the knave of hearts?" Alice said, "Nothing at all," she said, and that she will not leave. Again noise and confusion began in the court, and seeing the tall Alice, the king was very pale and he was her shoes size. The king looked really pale. He closed and turned to the rabbit and asked for an evidence. The rabbit read a letter which no one understood a word of it. But the king said, "That's the important evidence we ever read today." But on seeing the unsigned letter, the king dismissed the knave of hearts, saying that he was very dishonest and not signing. Alice said the letter itself was meaningless, but the queen wanted to punish him. Alice was so furious as she shouted, "You stupid fools! All of you are nothing but a set of playing cards. And you, the horrible queen," she said. But as soon as she said these words, all the live cards became paper cards and were strewn all over. Suddenly Alice screamed, and then she opened her eyes slowly and saw her sister smiling at her. "Oh, what a curious dream," Alice thought, and they went home. Alice was thinking over and over again about the Wonderful Dream, and The Stupid People. This story, Alice in Wonderland, was written by Lewis Carroll in the 18th century, that is 1865. His real name was Charles Dodgson. This tale has a lasting popularity with children as well as adults. Hope it would have given you a non-stop excitement, children, but I advise parents to buy this book and make them read the detailed versions of all chapters. Reading practice always increases grammar knowledge unconsciously rather consciously. The second part will contain some introduction of vocabulary. Please watch out for my second part of this same version of Alice in Wonderland, which contains grammar. And thank you for watching my video. Please do subscribe, share and comment.